A federal judge in Hawaii granted the state's request for a longer-term halt of the revised travel ban executive order Wednesday. Joining us to discuss this is Byron Henry. He's a partner in the appellate law section of Scheef and Stone, L.L.P., with his practice focusing on the areas of business litigation and civil appeals. Byron, this is Tom Hinchy filling in for Rusty Humphreys. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Tom. Glad to be with you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Hey, so what's next here for this ban?
Well, the next step is either an appeal to the Ninth Circuit, which is the same court that heard the original bans out of the state of Washington, or it's possible, I guess, that they could attempt to bypass the Ninth Circuit. But I suspect that with things the way they are now in Washington and at the Supreme Court, and with Judge Gorsuch waiting a confirmation hearing in the next couple of weeks, they will probably follow the course of appealing it directly to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that sits in California, and it will have to it'll just be up to the luck of the panel there whether or not you get three liberal judges that basically don't care what Trump does. It must be unconstitutional if he's doing it, so therefore they may affirm the order, or you might get a mixed panel which actually looks at this with the critical eye that they need to look at it and actually start tearing down this preposterous argument that statements that President Trump made on the campaign trail about a potential Muslim ban or immigration ban on Muslims somehow taints every single action, including this executive order that President Trump would take as president, that affects Muslims or predominantly Muslim countries.
Mm-hmm. Is there a time frame on this? Is this going to be dragged out for months, or do you think it's going to go fairly quickly?
It would be fairly quickly. I suspect it'd be expedited. We probably would have an answer to if the government wants. I mean, we probably could have an answer to this question finalized in the next month or so on the preliminary injunction issue. Just remember, there's also a judge in Maryland that has enjoined President Trump's the second executive order, that's already on appeal to the Fourth Circuit. And the Fourth Circuit has agreed to take that up. All the judges have agreed to take it up, not just a panel, so that's on a fast track. And then there's that Virginia judge that upheld the second executive order on a lot of grounds you may have heard, and talking points about the issues with respect to the Trump's prior comments cannot forever taint his ability to deal with the Middle East, which is basically what the left is arguing. So that's also on track on the appellate track. So all of this is heading to either a resolution at the Court of Appeals in Trump's favor or to the United States Supreme Court, I would think, in the next 2 or 3 months.
I think a lot of people are wondering, especially myself, is how a federal judge in Hawaii can block that. How can he block the executive order like that? I mean, how is Hawaii harmed by this?
Well, there's two questions there. First, the federal judge isn't really blocking the order for the whole country as much as he's just enjoining the parties that are before him. And since the president acts for the whole country, when you enjoin the president and the executive branch, it's effectively saying it can't be enforced anywhere in the country. So that's why it affects the entire country, because it's enjoining the president and its officers. But the second question is a very good question, and here it's very difficult to ascertain how, with the high standard of standing that the federal courts, including the Supreme Court, places to bring a federal lawsuit, basically the two levels of standing is the individual plaintiff has standing because it makes Muslims feel bad. Basically, President Trump's actions is basically somehow insulting to Muslims. That's his standing. And the state of Hawaii, somehow that this ban is going to affect tourism, which is interesting since none of the people that are actually affected by this travel ban have a visa or have any right to come to the United States in the first place, and they can't prove how many would even come to Hawaii if they get their visa or whatnot, which is it is literally stretching standing to the breaking point to say that the fact that people may or may not be able to get a visa and may or may not be able to come to Hawaii and spend money is enough to bring a federal lawsuit against the President of the United States. And I'll go you one further. The refugee limitation that President Trump imposed, which is basically lowering the number of refugees that will be allowed in to 55,000, which is a traditionally reasonable number. It's within the parameters of what's been allowed by other presidents. It's slightly lower, but it's still within the range of former presidents. Those refugees have nothing to do with Hawaii or tourism or coming to Hawaii to spend money, but for some reason this judge felt it incumbent upon himself to also enjoin the limitation on refugees as well. So that just gives you a taste of the how personal I think the judges have turned this fight in with the President Trump and his administration, as opposed to a legal fight on the merits.
Yeah. Well, that helps clear it up a little bit. But, yeah, it's still kind of a unusual situation anyway. Byron Henry is a partner in the appellate law section of Scheef and Stone, L.L.P. And where can we find you online, Byron?
You can find me at solidcounsel.com.
Solidcounsel.com. That's terrific. Well, we appreciate you coming in. Thanks for joining us today on Trending Today, USA.